Period 3. Psychology. Today's topic: why stereotypes and bias develop. In everyday life, we often make judgments about people and situations without thinking very deeply. For example, when we meet someone for the first time, we sometimes feel, this person might be like this. This is not something unusual. It is something many people do naturally without realizing it. So why does this way of thinking happen so easily? One reason is that the human brain tries to process information as efficiently as possible. We are surrounded by a huge amount of information. If we tried to think about everything carefully, one by one, we would not be able to keep up. So the brain groups similar things together and creates patterns based on past experience. This is what we call stereotypes. In other words, stereotypes are like a shortcut in thinking, helping us understand things quickly. This system itself is not a bad thing. In fact, it plays an important role in our daily lives. For example, it helps us quickly recognize danger and respond to situations. However, when this way of thinking becomes too strong, problems begin to appear. That is bias. Bias means making judgments about others without enough information. Even though each person is different, we may think, this person is like this, and judge them based on a single image. So why does bias develop? One reason is that people seek a sense of safety. When we do not understand something, we feel uneasy. To reduce that feeling, we rely on familiar ideas and past impressions. As a result, even if the image is not accurate, we may still believe it. Also, once we form an impression, it is not easy to change. People tend to believe their own thoughts are correct, so we gather information that supports our view and ignore information that does not match it. In this way, stereotypes gradually grow stronger and can turn into bias. An important point here is that this way of thinking is not limited to certain people. Everyone, without realizing it, makes these kinds of judgments. In other words, bias is not simply a problem of bad people. It is also part of how the human brain works. So how can we deal with bias? The key is to become aware of our own thinking. Just asking yourself, why did I think that? Can already change how you see things. It is also important not to rely on a single piece of information and to consider different perspectives. It may be difficult to remove bias completely, but by being aware of it, we can learn to manage it better. To summarize, stereotypes are a way for the brain to process information efficiently, and they are necessary. However, when they become too strong, they turn into bias and make it harder to see things clearly. These patterns exist naturally in our everyday lives. That is why it is important to reflect on how we think. Even a small shift in awareness can change how we see the world. Next lecture. Period 4. Society. How does inequality develop? And is it really unavoidable? Let's explore.